Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. After the dramatic OpTic vs Vegas series last night, lots of reaction as expected from the OpTic guys to the actions of Johnny after the series concluded. The emotes that he dropped on the timeline, loads of reactions to it, especially because of what happened with Pred vs Vikul not that long ago. Dashy and Johnny with a bit of a back and forth, Pred making his thoughts very clear on the matter as well. What's going to happen when we go to LAN in a few weeks' time if they were to potentially play each other? Very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. This OpTic Texas team that went down in a surprising fashion last night, the 12th different roster in OpTic Gaming's history. This doesn't include, I believe, Chicago Huntsman, but, you know, that wasn't. It was OpTic, but it wasn't technically OpTic. It's a bit of a mess always analysing that, right? Because technically, Dallas Empire is the same franchise spot that OpTic Texas now inhabits. But OpTic, at least when they were Chicago Huntsman, and even OpTic Chicago, existed at the same time as Dallas Empire did. It was all kind of confusing what you consider OpTic and what you don't. It was an absolute mess over those first few years of the CDL, but this is OpTic Texas now, and they are an OpTic Gaming roster and the 12th different roster to win a championship for the organisation. But last night, they couldn't replicate that success they had in Toronto against Vegas online. Yes, online cheese. Yes, sound equalization cheese, quite possibly, as we'll get into here in just a second with what Mr. Nero has to say on that 1 versus 3 that he pulled off against the OpTic boys in the Game 5 that was most certainly the momentum switcher in that game. Maybe I'll just share that now. So Nero in his post-game interview was asked the question, how about that 1 versus 3? He got the kill on Kenny, jarring out from top AC for some reason, then Pred flies out and dies, and then Dashy's in a tough 1v1 that he ends up losing. So Nero clutches a big 1 versus 3, and he was asked the question, you know, did you hear Dashy towards the ends? How did he make that play work? And Nero's pretty funny what he says. He says, oh yeah, my teammates heard him. And then he was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I think you can kind of tell from his response that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned anything about sounding or sound hearing or sound equalization or whatever, because, you know, the feeling certainly is that especially for these teams that need the CDL points, the sound equalization is all over the shop.
You need to get down and dirty, you can. I want to ask you about your 1v3. Did you just have a beat on it? Did you know he would try to push you for the kill?
No, my teammates heard that he went into the green. I didn't even see him. I had no idea, so I just pre-aimed it and hoped that he jabbed me, and he did.
I'm sure that got you fired up. Congrats, man.
It did. Thank you. I
They're
appreciate
sounding.
Nero, everyone kind of wrote you guys off.
Oh, dude, him saying that, the whole community's in uproar now.
Sound EQ!
He should not have said that.
He's sounding!
He should not have said that.
So even though in this latest update they decreased the footstep volume apparently, and Clay was like, yeah, you know, the Sound EQ users, unlucky, it's over for you guys. But the thing is, Sound EQ is still so good, and there isn't still a way for the CDL to stop anyone using it online, that it's still used, and certainly the teams that are at the bottom of the standings that need the points desperately, they are going to be abusing this stuff, because unfortunately online is still critical. And this is the point. I don't know if these matches online were less important than they were, whether everyone would be abusing the Sound EQ still. Maybe they would, and we don't really know how many players are using it, and, you know, the implication is most certainly that maybe Vegas have got that stuff cranked up to the max because they need the points they can get. But if online didn't matter as much, if there was only 5 points per series victory, or if LAN was worth twice even what it is now, then there might be a point that maybe they wouldn't use Sound EQ so much because the points are really on display at LAN. That's where you actually would make champs, whereas the reality is, for the bottom half of the league, is because they're not getting top 8, top 6 or higher very often, if ever, that's only 15, 30 points on the board. They get the vast majority of their points online. This is the case for Miami, this is the case for Thieves, like pretty much the case for all of the bottom teams. The only teams that tend to get more points on LAN than online are the top teams, because they're the ones winning the events and getting the 100 points or whatever it is for the tournament victory. So it's just online is so critical, and it really shouldn't be, and they said they were going to make it better, but they haven't really, because there's fewer majors and more qualifiers, so it cancels out the changes they made. These, though, were the numbers. I didn't really dive into this last night, but it's so rare you see the red carpet rolled out here for OpTic Texas. The 0.85 for Dashy, the 0.82 for Kenny. Pred did the best in terms of KD, but we're still in a negative, and of course Shotzzy ends up with a 0.7. On the other side, Johnny especially, 1.3, 88 kills, outslayed divide, I think by 58 this adds up to, right? Because, you know, this is 27, that's 30, that's 58. So, and, you know, this would be 35 plus 21, which is 56, so not quite the same. I guess there were some team kills in there, which there were, because Shotzzy and Dashy blew each other up. But, you know, whatever you want to say, those are the numbers. Karma actually tweets out 66, question mark. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this refers to. I think people speculated that it was referring to the number of kills that OpTic got outslayed by, because it came out at basically shortly after they'd lost. Maybe it was to do with something else, because it wasn't actually 66, as I say, like, I think it was 56 if you add these up, or it was 58 on the OpTic side, but that seems to be what Karma's getting at, and I can't imagine that he was too happy with this series. Shotzzy wasn't there before the series for whatever reason, and I thought it was interesting that OpTic, they didn't tweet any, you know, excuses, right? And I think this is something that Hex has been quite adamant about. He certainly, I think it was even said in a process episode, wasn't it? Like, don't want to see any tweets from you guys about excuses, anything like that, that could either be misconstrued in a certain way. There is probably plenty of reason to believe today, or at least certainly yesterday, that OpTic were not in the best position. There were a few reasons why they were struggling going into this series, but, and obviously weren't probably warmed up or whatever the case is. But OpTic were not tweeting about any of that. They weren't saying, oh, you know, we didn't get the warm-ups in because of XYZ reason, you know, GG's we go again type thing. I think the mindset from OpTic has been lately, right, take maximum accountability. There's no tweeting about reasons why you lost. They're saying, we lost, fair and square, you know, we're going to win next time. But the main point of drama, of course, comes at this point. So the series is over. Johnny has just dropped a 1.3 on the reigning champions to obviously win a massively important series for the team and for himself, and he drops the Fortnite emote on these boys, and this to me is hilarious. Now, you know, I think the reaction is always different when it's OpTic compared to whenever it's, you know, somebody else, right? Because, you know, if it would have been another team that had lost here, then I think it would have been a different reaction from the community to this. But no, of course, Johnny drops the L emote and all this, so he's gonna get roasted hard, not just by the fans, and even his replies on Twitter are pretty wild, I thought, last night, even after just this. But certainly the OpTic boys, they're seeing this and thinking, okay, you know, it's time to get our revenge at some point in the future. I will say from Johnny's side, like, this is fair game as far as I'm concerned. You know, Kenny used to get roasted for the last several years for laughing in the middle of a series. I've not seen him get roasted this year for laughing in the middle of the series, right? I wonder, you know, how times might have changed. But also, Johnny's just dropped a 1.3 on the reigning champions to win a massively important series. Like, you know, you should be able to celebrate that, right? As far as I'm concerned. I don't see any issue with this. You know, I like the drama as well, so maybe I'm slightly biased. But of course I was wondering here what the reaction would be, because Johnny didn't have to do this, he could have just said GG's, but no, he maybe didn't learn from Vikul's mistakes, and he's decided to run it back. And also I saw this, I got a notification last night that Priestahh liked the tweet that I put out, and here it is. So this is Pred's likes and will finds. This one where I tweeted out, you know, big win for Vegas, Johnny really played well, although I fear Pred may be saving this one in the drafts, because, yeah, this was the screenshot, and Pred likes this tweet, so potentially implying, and even he actually made it quite clear in this tweet, where he said to Vegas, GG's Vegas, those guys are beasts. Now, this is actually the same tweet that Scrappy tends to do whenever they lose to a team they shouldn't be losing to. I would also say for OpTic, like, this is only the second time this year they've lost to a team that is outside of the top 4. They lost to Miami at the start of the year. The only top 4 team to only lose once to a team outside of the top 4 is FaZe. They've only lost to Gorillas, which is kind of crazy, but maybe similar echoes to that series last night, right? But yeah, Pred basically saying those guys ain't that good. It's online cheese, right, is the implication. Attach obviously having a laugh, and Pred says, yeah, laughing, but taking note at the same time, right, in terms of what's happened that series and what's going to happen in the future. So if OpTic and Vegas do match up again, certainly from now to the end of the season, I'm sure we're going to get some fireworks, and I feel like Vegas may be somewhat compromised in that particular situation, because Pred doesn't, you know, I'm not saying he doesn't take these things well, because I think from a competitive POV he actually does. He just sees this stuff and he wants to beat these guys. And it's been the case with Vikul and Heretics, and it's probably going to be the case here for Johnny and Vegas. Because as Dashy says, these guys win one online game but they don't know how to act, he says, which I thought was pretty hilarious. That, you know, look, clouding on these guys for celebrating their victory, and look, do what you want. I'm here for it regardless. But he's like, yeah, you won one game online, congratulations. You know, doesn't even know what to do type thing. So this is a similar thing to what happened between Sib and 04, where Surge got the the victory over New York Subliners online, and then 04 was chirping, calling in the little man, and obviously Simp was coming back saying, oh, you know, well done, one online win, I'll see you on LAN type thing, I'm never going to lose to you ever again. And to be fair, they played on LAN and Simp won with the New York Subliners back at the most recent major. So Johnny kind of explains why this beef started, and there were even clips going around the other day in, you know, Money 8s where Dashy and Geo were having a bit of a back and forth, but as Johnny says, this was a troll because Pred was chirping in my ear last night in Money 8s. So GG's, bro. So this was actually targeted at Pred, which is the interesting part as well. You know, my feeling was, well, probably Pred is going to be the one to mainly respond to this just because he's the one that obviously had the whole Vikul stuff, threw up the 3-0 and then he threw it up back. It's on the thumbnail. But as Johnny says, this actually was targeted at Pred after whatever was said between the two of them in Money 8s yesterday. So look, Dashy says, thought it was pretty funny, not going to lie. GG's well played today. So, you know, nice bit of cordiality, if that's even a word, between these two guys. But yeah, as Johnny says, he effectively targeted this L emote at Pred, and as a result, Pred isn't going to be, you know, so happy about it. So he says that you're a beast, John, all like, well played, GG's, bro, all love, he says. So we shall see whether it's all love when they play again. And Johnny played really well yesterday, and there's a very good chance as a result that he's going to stay in the league. So if they don't play this season, he probably plays them next season. But the question is, will they play at either the World Championship or at Major 4? Because the way the bracket is going to play out, likely OpTic going to be in winners, let's be real. Vegas, therefore, will likely need to be in winners to play them. It's possible they could play in the losers bracket, but you know, OpTic usually will make a nice winners bracket run. They are the reigning champs after all of Major 3. So if Vegas want to play OpTic again, or if OpTic want to play Vegas again, then they will likely have to make the winners bracket and be, you know, number 2 versus number 7 seed, or whatever the theoretical situation could be. And as Dashy says, though, GG's Vegas lost 3-2. Finished the split 1-1, which is a funny thing to say, right? Because they've played 2 online games so far. I think the implication is, I'm fed up of this online COD BS. We've got 5 more games to go, but Dashy don't care about them anymore. It's like, yeah, I've finished this split 1-1. I'm just going to boycott all the other online games. Congratulations, everyone. It's, yeah, it is painful for these pros. But to be fair for the fans, the actual games this weekend were way more interesting than they have been for quite some time at this point. Johnny, though, says, GG's to OpTic 1-3-2, finish 1-1 of the weekend. We're shooting Diffie that series, can't wait for next week, and we can see 300 likes, 54 replies, and, well, I guess we should have a look at some of the replies. Make it to champs, little bro, this ain't even the same series, keep cooking, Drew says, your headset was shooting a little Diffie today, let's see if we replicate that on LAN. Sound EQ won't save you on LAN, relax, little bro, you know, all this type of stuff. So, you know, relax, you ain't making champs. I gotta say, it's all rather entertaining, isn't it? That, you know, they beat OpTic one time and all of a sudden, here are the replies. Vikul treatment is going to look so good on you. They write that L emote down for later. So, look, we'll see if they play each other at some point. And as Dashy actually says to attach here, because getting that slice of the pie every year, you guys are making me work for these slices. Lots of respect. You were on one tonight, he says. These are the standings as it stands in the CDL. These are the point standings so far. Surge and Thieves, would you believe it? They are the top 2 seeds, going 2-0 so far. FaZe, Ultra, OpTic are right about there. At the bottom is the Boston Bleach. They're back at it again. Hashtag into the bleach. Hashtag Boston Breakers, or whatever they call them nowadays. Ravens, a rough start for them, losing 2 game 5s. Obviously, Miami have gone down 0-1, but, you know, without Vikul in the team, Rocker already 1-1. They beat Boston, so congratulations. These, though, are the championship standings, and this is where Vegas, it got to be said, right? The fact that Gorillas won the series they did against Ravens, the fact that Vegas won the series they did against OpTic, the fact that Rocker beat Boston, and all this stuff that's happened, you know, Surge getting victories, it puts Ravens in a bit of a predicament, really. You've got Legion, Ravens, and Gorillas all tied on 120 points. They're all in the drop zone. You then have Rocker, who I think are going to drop down. Like, these guys are not good right now if they don't make a change. Heretics, 130. I still think they might make it. I think they're good enough. But, well, this, obviously, they played OpTic and got slapped around. Thieves and Surge, I think, should now make it. You probably need 170 to be comfortable. Surge are very close. Thieves aren't far away. So that victory for Legion and the victory for Gorillas this weekend absolutely opens the door to basically anything still happening down here, with the exception, of course, of Boston. So very much intrigued your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.